Virtual reality, or VR, is a computer-simulated environment that provides a user a real-life experience. It is very popular amongst gamers. Now, the popularity of this tool has caused many to wonder when and where did it all start. VR was developed in 1968 by computer scientist Ivan Sutherland. The purpose of VR was to provide a 3D interactive experience for viewers. Ivan Sutherland wanted to create a resource that had an ultimate display. The ultimate display was based on being in a room in which the computer controlled the reality the user sees. Sutherland wanted the environment to be based on reality. In 1968, Ivan Sutherland, with the help of a student, created the first VR called the Sword of Damocles. In 1975, the first VR platform was established. It consisted of a computer that projected graphics in a room. VPL Research created the first VR goggles and gloves, and in 1989, astronauts received training in VR in order to prepare for space exploration. Virtual reality continued to make strides over the years. In 1991, NASA scientists developed a VR system to drive the Mars rover. The same year, virtual reality 3D arcade machines were created. 2 years later, Sega created its first VR consumer gaming system. Nintendo attempted their own version of this type of system in 1995, but it was discontinued only a year later. In 1997, Georgia Tech and Emory created a VR for veterans that were affected by PTSD. The VR mimicked a war zone and exposed veterans to scenarios to assist in recovery. By 2018, there were many more companies creating and developing virtual reality technology. The progression of VR system has changed over time. Years ago, VRs were a resource in which you sat in a dark room and reality was created for you via projection. Eventually, it was redesigned to a large headset. Now the headsets are smaller and include up-to-date technology. Several companies are designing VRs to be lightweight and contain a higher resolution. Today, we have access to several types of VR, including those that connect to computers and others that are standalone. With greater accessibility, this technology has become a more viable tool for education. The use of VR in schools is increasingly becoming part of the norm. Both secondary and post-secondary institutions are using it to engage students in the learning process. Students are able to take virtual field trips to places that would have been difficult to reach otherwise. And health professional students are able to visualize training and receive feedback from instructors with the use of VR. In addition, corporate companies are able to provide effective training to employees with the use of this device. Overall, virtual reality can improve learning and development for all people. In this presentation, we'll focus on virtual reality as it relates to education and learning experiences. On a daily basis, teachers are presented with the challenge of increasing student reading comprehension and creating insightful writers. As the amount of technology for classroom use has grown, so has the variety of ways that teachers can incorporate it into their lessons. The way students interact with text has evolved as well. The traditional ways of teaching presents deficiencies in providing the necessary strategies to make sense of the many multimedia resources they come in contact with. VR apps provide immersive experiences in real or imagined environments, creating sensory experiences that involve sight, touch, hearing, and motion. This allows users to feel as though they are physically in that environment, allowing for more connections between present and past experiences. Having more background knowledge makes it easier to connect with unfamiliar text and begin to make meaning of what's being read. Oftentimes, students in the classroom lack the needed background knowledge and struggle with comprehending new text. Using the many VR tools in the classroom, the teacher can have all the students in the classroom virtually interact and engage in the same experience prior to the reading or writing lesson, so all students will be able to activate their prior knowledge and apply it to new text. Virtual reality can also increase student engagement. If students cannot find a way to relate to what is being taught, they often ignore it or do not retain it. However, with the multisensory appeal and novel format reminiscent of video games, VR can help with motivation and buy-in, especially with struggling readers. After motivating students, it's important to have them engaged in the work they are doing. Engagement and motivation go hand in hand. So many times we see our students struggle with writing a simple paper, and we often wonder why. The answer is simple. Many students lack the background knowledge to express themselves verbally and through written assignments. Teachers can now use cardboard goggles in the classroom to bring the world front and center to each individual child. When the teacher integrates virtual reality into the writing curriculum, it allows for a deeper understanding, retention of content, and it also increases student morale and literacy skills. The immersive nature of virtual reality is so beneficial because it provides an immediate response and removes writer's block and gives the writer the tools they need to begin writing. The Global Read Aloud program provides students access to reading with other students from around the world. It gives them the ability to have discussions about a common text in real time. VR programs help connect students from all over the world. Students can gain an understanding of foreign text by getting to hear other perceptions of the text that they're reading. This is one of the many ways students are able to have access to a wider array of experiences through modern technology. Effective field trips enhance the school curriculum by bridging the gap of formal and informal learning. A field trip's intended design is to connect classroom topics to real-world contexts, provide direct learning experiences, adding realism and relevancy to the studies. Virtual field trips are budget-friendly, can be used by all learners, and provide quick and easy access to anywhere in the world in mere seconds. For virtual field trips to be successful, the teacher should have a well-planned out lesson and activities to go along with it. With virtual field trips, there are no restrictions. Students can literally go anywhere in the world, and it can be done in one day. This can build multicultural awareness and build interest in foreign language acquisition. One way to learn a new language is to be immersed in a culture. This is usually accomplished by physically being there, but thanks to the technological advances in VR, you can immerse yourself in other cultures from the comfort of your own classroom or home. This can also benefit our ESOL students because they can interact with items found in the classroom, at home, and other common places they go by using these simulations. Being able to interact with new words and phrases will help with their retention. In addition to helping ESOL students, virtual reality technology is being used to help those with special needs in a variety of ways. There are VR rehabilitation programs to help children with ASD and ADHD that have shown some early success. There have also been some efforts to assist those with physical disabilities overcome limitations through the use of VR. In addition, virtual reality technology is being used to help non-disabled users understand the challenges that those with disabilities face on a daily basis. Virtual reality programs are being used to provide more accessible educational experiences to students with ASD. One company who has made progress in this endeavor is Florio. Their mission is to use the unique capabilities of VR to teach social and communication skills to these students. The lessons are designed to be specifically addressed to meet the needs of ASD students and include topics such as developing awareness of unspoken social cues, interactions within the community, and mindfulness. Through the use of VR, students are able to participate in educational experiences in a safe environment, guided by an adult who is able to monitor their progress in real time. These lessons provide learning opportunities that would not otherwise be easily accessible, like interacting with police officers in the community. Florio utilizes research to guide the development for their content and has partnered with organizations such as the National Institutes of Health to conduct studies on the efficacy of their platform. The capabilities of VR technology capture user attention and immerses them in an engaging experience. This makes virtual reality uniquely suited for ADHD interventions. There have been a number of studies conducted to research the impact of remediation using this technology. A clinical trial conducted by the National Institute of Mental Health studied an intervention where children engage in a VR simulation of a classroom environment that is designed to have many distractions. Then they are asked to perform attention-demanding tasks while the VR technology monitors distractibility by tracking eye movement. The hypothesis is that students can improve their attention and time on task through the use of a personalized exposure to distracting environments offered through VR therapy. The Korean Journal of Pediatrics published a literature review of other studies utilizing VR technology for rehabilitation of children with ADHD. They concluded that VR technology can improve cognitive performance such as working memory, executive functioning, and attention through this platform. For children with ADHD, VR technology can assess the individual needs of a child, provide targeted training that can improve deficient cognitive processes, and present a realistic yet controlled environment that allows children to more easily adapt to correlating environments in the real world. VR has uses for physical disabilities as well. The designers at Fjord, a global design and innovation consultancy, created a VR simulation of using a wheelchair in a busy urban area. The goal for this project was to help first-time wheelchair users learn wayfinding skills before entering into the actual environment. The simulation also allows for architects and engineers to create virtual models to determine level of wheelchair accessibility. A secondary goal of the project was to create a virtual experience that would build empathy for those bound to wheelchairs and non-disabled users. There have been other organizations that have developed empathy-building VR experiences for other disabilities such as Alzheimer's and autism. One of these organizations, the National Autistic Society in the UK, created a virtual reality experience that can be accessed through YouTube. This experience simulates what it's like to go to a shopping mall as a child with autism. Throughout this video, you're able to experience what it's like to have your senses overload to the point of inducing panic. The immersive nature of VR is well suited to seeing things through another's eyes. This technology can be used to help teachers and other students gain a deeper understanding of the challenges that ASD students have in their schools. The future of virtual reality is certainly a reality. According to Education Network, 52% of 200 surveyed teachers have integrated virtual reality into their science curriculum. This number greatly surpassed the percentages for history, engineering, arts, math, design, and English. Similar research shows that as a virtual reality is being embraced in the world of education, more and more schools are choosing to use science as a subject to test the waters. But why science? Science and virtual reality seem to go perfectly hand in hand with one another. Laboratory experiments are an integral aspect of science education. Due to the barriers including funding and the availability of resources and materials, it is sometimes challenging to design a laboratory experience for students. 2D lab simulation software has been a great alternative to counteract these barriers. However, simulations can sometimes still leave a disconnect between students and the content. Companies such as Victory VR, Mel VR, and even Google have attempted to offer a solution to this disconnection. With highly specialized design software, these companies are taking science learning to the next level. We can all agree that chemistry is quite a complex subject. Having a fundamental understanding of atoms, ions, and molecules is essential. Virtual reality software puts students right inside the chemical reactions where they can observe the behavior of each particle and how they interact. Virtual reality in science is essential as it offers an enhanced opportunity for experiential learning with an intense immersive sense of space and time. Virtual reality can certainly increase student engagement. Science often requires students to do work in groups to perform laboratory experiments. Many times students are reluctant. VR-based lessons can help to remedy this common concern for students. With increased engagement, students may be more willing to work collaboratively. When one thinks about virtual reality, it's not uncommon to make the assumption that implementing it into the classroom instruction is impractical, mainly due to the high costs associated with the required hardware and software. However, there is hope. Several companies have experimented with the development of mobile-powered VR headsets, such as Google's Daydream View and Samsung's Gear View, whose costs range from $80 to $100, making the reality of VR in the classroom quite practical. Maintaining an adequate supply of consumables in order to carry out experiments is the expectation of any science classroom. Replacing these consumables can become quite costly year after year. However, with VR technology, there's no need to allocate funds to any additional materials. VR eliminates the necessity to maintain and replenish these sorts of inventories. Despite the many benefits that can exist with this technology, there are others who argue that they are outweighed by the potential disadvantages. For instance, there have been common reports of nausea and vomiting while using VR headsets, and even inflictions of pain from bumping into walls and falling. There is also the argument that children may develop an addiction to the device. These are all valid points, but also potential threats can be avoided or reduced with proper safeguards. The future of VR is bright. Companies are creating and improving these devices as technology improves. VR is being used at a higher rate in many sectors besides education, including business, medicine, and the military. The movement towards more interconnected, immersive, and contextualized learning experiences indicates that VR will gain greater significance in the years to come. Thank you for watching.